Hey, it's Shaves, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and, you know what, usually not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 3rd of January to the 1st of, the 10th of January, to 1/10, 10/1 for the Europeans, I suppose. Look, guys, there is a video that I would give a not good, because, like, they took 6 minutes like undercut the point they were making right at the bat, like didn't really do a good, and then the points they were starting to make, cringe. It's also like one of my favorite anime too. I'm subtweeting this video basically, but I don't want to put that into my body, and I also don't want to put that out onto YouTube of like me bitching about this video. Not that I'm afraid of their their thing or whatever. I just, it's just my like. It's why I also don't like making like negatively skewed videos of like this anime's bad, on my main channel. It's just not something I want to focus on. It's something I want to stew in. It's sort of like what you put into your body and what you put out into the world, that's not to say that like Not Good is gonna be completely retired or something like that. I did one last week, but like I think it was that one I wasn't able, I didn't feel personally angry about it. I'm just like, oh, there's just things about that I didn't think were great, or that I could like, I don't know, but I just didn't want to. I don't want to talk about that video. You could be like, this could be you don't know what it is, but think of it's one of my top 5 favorite anime. I guess I'm subtweeting them really, and I don't want to give them attention. Not like I'm like, oh, they're bad. It's just like, yeah, I don't want to spend focus. I guess I'm spending time on it now. I just want to put my thoughts out there here because I just found it really conflicting. And it's like, do I really not want to do any not goods anymore? This would be a good candidate for one. But I'm just like, no, this video just makes me really irritated. I don't even want to bother finishing it. And then like talking about it would just make me really irritated and exhausted, and I'm not feeling like talking about that today, so we're gonna instead talk about some videos I thought were decent, pretty good. And this first one caused a bit of a stir when it dropped, and I only found out really about it. I'm not subscribed to Charlie Penguin Z or Moist Critical. I'm not really subscribed to him on the channel that I have a lot of anime YouTube videos on. I just kind of know about him and get his videos recommended a lot. But then I saw a lot of other anime YouTube channels that I am subscribed to, smaller ones that I've never hardly talked about, reacting to his video on the thing I hate about anime. And I'm like, great. Guess I should probably talk about it on Digest so I don't miss this controversy like I did with like Totally Not Mark or whatever. Because I completely forgot about Mark, actually. It just happened to land the day after I posted Digest, and then the whole thing was completely done by the time the next Digest happened, and I didn't feel like talking to it. He unlisted all the videos, didn't want to talk about it anymore, so I'm like, okay, don't want to talk. And also there was plenty of attention on it, as there was. But there was a couple people talking about this one. They made some video responses. I didn't watch any of them. I'm not interested. It's just like, all right, well, what does Charlie have to say here? What's the thing he hates about anime? And I like that he prefaces the video, which it's sometimes very cumbersome with his videos. I've watched a couple of his videos, and sorry if that's redundant. The fact is like he has a lot of preamble. And I just realized I'm probably giving a lot of preamble in my thing. That's fair, but I don't know. He has a lot of fun giving a lot of hyperbole and like setup basically, and maybe that's an appeal and kind of a charm of his videos, I guess. I just find them a little annoying to like, all right, get to the point kind of thing. But then as here you are listening to this, but the preamble in this was kind of funny because he's like, you don't want to piss off anime fans. I've actually been terrified making this video because I don't want to incur their wrath. He says, like, I didn't hear the end of it when I mentioned only one time in one video that I preferred parts 1 and 2 of JoJo over 3 and 4. He didn't like 3 and 4, but as much as he liked 1 and 2. And the people give him all the shit in the world for it. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like our community. And so that's fair. But the thing is, to spoil the video for you guys, but I suggest watching it, of course, because it's how he phrases it, of course. But the thing he doesn't like about anime is that the majority of them are centered around kids, or that they're the main characters are children, and fair. his that's not specifically like the part that's kind of the problem with that is that they are children when they don't not often need to be children, given the subject matter that's happening. And the thing that spurred him on making this video, the only 2 examples he gives concretely of this, like what he sees as kind of a weird thing, like why do they have to be kids, is Tokyo Revengers and specifically Platinum End, which is the thing that he was like watching, and he's like, I gotta make a video about this because there's a scene or like a character in Platinum End, which I haven't seen either, and so this is news to me, but I'm not surprised given what I've heard about Platinum End, where one of the girls like gets hit with like arrow or something and becomes a serial killer who has sex with a bunch of the other girls and then kills them. And he's like, that's fucked up. But why do they have to be kids? Why do they have to be like in school, like children doing that, you know? He's like, I didn't. And my response to that probably is like, it sounds like it's just a shock value thing. It just sounds like it's, oh, that's crazy or something. And the first thing when he worded like, oh, it's centered around kids, my thought was, and this is probably accurate in a lot of other people's like response videos or whatever. So I imagine I'm not adding too much to this, but like I imagine the reason is because the majority of anime is geared towards kids. Like they're being made for this exact audience. He's like, oh, the average would be 15 in terms of the age of the protagonist, and I think he's right. I think there is some truth to this. He says it's about 85% of all anime is the protagonist is a kid. I wager it's more like 75%, 70, but that's obviously splitting hairs. It is the vast majority. It is like a large majority, which is fair. And you know, on one hand, it's like, I get it, you know, but like, again, especially like the context in particular is that like they have no reason to be kids otherwise. Like you think of Evangelion as it's like, you know, the 14th, they kind of create an arbitrary reason, but why else, you know? It's like, yeah, but I don't know. I think it's an interesting point to bring up, and I think it is true and accurate. But like I do think there is more thought if like you could be looking a little closer at it and consider why. I think it does go beyond just it's the target demographic and they want to see themselves in this media type of thing. Like it's centered towards kids, and so the, you know, how much do kids really want to see grown adult, you know? Yeah, that's debatable. I don't know. I'm not a kid. But on the other hand, it's like there's still plenty of anime that don't have this, and then there's plenty that like have that they're adults and it's nothing or anything. And like, but he does bring in a very important point, and it's also the vast majority of the most popular shows too. Yeah, I don't know. That's just the point he wanted, but I think he articulates it really well. He brings up good examples, and it's like making a very specific case where it's like he's not just you know, for the sake of like all kids. He understands a lot of them, they're kids for a reason. For example, he gives this assassination classroom. It's like that makes sense because they're in a class, they're in school, and it's about school, and so like those things make sense. But yeah, I would say that probably the reason a lot of it for some people is that like it's just kind of as a shock thing. It's sort of like, well, it wouldn't be as startling perhaps if these were actually all adults, perhaps, but maybe it still would be. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to like defend all of anime or something like that. It's like, that that's certainly a good observation to make. I guess it doesn't bother me too much. You know, it does remind me of this other thing that's going around this week. There's an article from AniFem about that new seasonal that just came out from Cloverworks with like a sailor uniform, whatever. I haven't seen the show, but they make this observation of how like it's interesting how like Sakuga fans and animation fans, they're just totally obsessing over this show and like whoa, but they're not even addressing the content, which seems very voyeuristic and almost fetishistic in a way. And it's just like maybe that's something we should consider, guys. You know, like this is a little creepy. Isn't this a little creepy? And it's less overt. It's interesting because it's less overt than something like Mushoku Tensei, which is very overt in its questionable subject matter that you know, people find problematic. But they're like, oh, that there's this tension of good really impressive animation and production, but it's coupled to this like unsavory story you don't like kind of thing. But obviously also a lot of other people like. I don't know. I'm such a fence sitter with these things, really. But yeah, like I think there's something else to be said about that, where like we have to. There's some things that we're not even realizing because it's so prevalent and dominant in the medium as a whole. There's a lot of those sorts of things, but I think it's important to not generalize a lot of it, because like, and also not to like just assume the intentions of the creators. You know, I think it's like we could see those things because we have our own experiences and we just kind of jump to conclusions. Like there's one of my mutuals was kind of connecting the AniFem article with how people not realizing that like it's kind of like Naoki Yamada's K-On! Is a little fetishistic with like the constant shots of like the legs and things like that, but it's without sex, but it's still like voyeuristic in its own way. And it's like, okay, but how helpful or like necessary is it to point those things out? I think it's interesting to point those things out, and I'm not like trying to shut down any conversation, but I don't want to get carried away here. You know, it's like Naoki Yamada, I don't know if that's really her intention, and we should really try to look deeper and maybe even seek out interviews of maybe people have asked this question, and just think more critically and more closely at these things, and not just, I don't know, because it could lead down to some spiraling and some very cynical you know, perspectives. That would just be something that I'm worried about. Not like the absorption of cancel. Like, I don't know. I guess it's a very broad subject that and I'm happy, but it's interesting in that I'm happy that such a large creator as Charlie is brave enough to make this sort of thing, knowing you know how like this already has like 2 million views, but also a bunch of these other creators are talking about it, including myself. You know, it's just nice to see a creator like this is able to make waves in our community and things like that, and it's not just kind of stuck in the status quo. I like seeing that, but you know, I would just hope that it doesn't get like very out of hand or taken advantage of by bad faith actors, perhaps. And I don't think Charlie's a bad faith actor. I think he's just like someone who really likes anime. Proves it very well in this video. He's like, oh man, I watch a ton of anime, and I almost bought a body pillow and things like that. I'm not like, he's not like are questioning his fandom or anything like that and gatekeeping or something. But it's good that he's trying to think more critically and look at this stuff on its face, sort of thing. I don't know, it's interesting. You know, another surreal thing was seeing such another big creator talking about like kind of hot button topic. RDC World with coming out with a skit called "How Anime Studios Be Treating Their Workers," kind of poking fun at how Mappa is taking on a lot of anime projects, and they're like, oh, you see that hot new anime? Yeah, we just got that. We're gonna make an anime. They're like, oh man, it's like, are you sure you're gonna ready to work till 2023? And then they have like their kid hostage and stuff like that. It's a little dark. It's not as really funny as their previous material has been, or cutting or in the same way, but it is like surprising that they're just kind of talking about like such relevant kind of like hot button topics like this. It's interesting. That they kind of felt motivated to make something like this. And honestly, like it's with a lot of these creators, it's often the times where they're representative of a wider community, and that's why they're so popular, is because they share these sentiments and they have the same kind of, they're on the same wavelength as a lot of other people. And so when a bigger creator is making something like this, and it's not like they're putting out anything like they're not linking to the anime or dormitory project or something, or trying to fix it, or they're kind of just riffing on it. And I can understand people be feeling kind of cynical towards that approach. But like, I just think that calling attention to it like this is really interesting and surprising to see from them. And I don't know, I'm like, again, it wasn't like all that funny and creative in the same way as their previous stuff has been. I really like their NBA stuff. Like, their reactions are always really funny and spot on. They fucking got to meet fucking LeBron James at the Space Jam 2 premiere because their funny video got to hit reached him. Like, that's freaking insane. Like, and I always love what RDC will make, just on principle of just like seeing creators really pursue something creative and original, but like still liking the stuff that we like. I don't know. I just really enjoy it personally. This one, it's not like funny or creative in the same way. I'm being repetitive, but yeah, I'm just really surprised to see this, and yeah, wanted to talk about it a little bit. It's interesting, kind of similar on the other what I was just talking about with Charlie, with like breaching this big topic that like even if they're not really talking critically about it here, they are calling to light about it, and they're like, isn't this kind of fucked up? What are they giving the hostage, holding the animators hostage, or you know what I mean? It's like, geez, it's kind of dark, interesting for them to see this. It's cool. Volume 2 of Anime as Punk Rock Cartoons from Bonsai Pop, which like they do shout out AniTube Digest. It's cool. I appreciate it. Seeing them talk about my perspective, and at least it's cool to see that connection. And it is great to have a better understanding of where they're coming from and their relationship with TheCynicClinic, and like, because I would have my own outside perspective, and it's not necessarily the community was being defensive. I was being defensive. I was seeing it as like, oh, another Get in the Robot, where like, Channel Fed, they were coming out, they're an offshoot of Channel Federator and making kind of repetitive content. But even then, they're the same thing as with Bonsai Pop, where that group got kind of let go by that conglomerate, and they still wanted to make videos, and they still wanted to kind of go independent and stuff. And so they have Beyond the Bot, and they've been making, I think, better content so it's a similar, kind of a similar thing. At least in my opinion. I don't know. It was like, if it was an offshoot from the start, I had no idea really. No, but like, I really like these sorts of like yearly kind of up like State of the Union kind of videos. And it doesn't feel like it's not like an update video in the sense. I think it feels, it's really nice. It feels nicely in the middle between a scripted content video and an unscripted update kind of thing. And having Mike on the screen for pretty much the whole video is really nice, and it makes it more intimate and personal and stuff. It doesn't feel like the same like, ethos of like the volume 1 of Punk Rock Cartoons, of like what we want to make, and here's our new direction type of thing, which was really exciting. But it is more of like, okay, here's the stasis of where we're at, and kind of a clarification of why we talk about the things that we talk about, and our approach and things like that, what we're in it for. I really do like the perspective, and I've shared this before, of how like they know the game so well, and they don't play it. They know the game very intimately, and they're like, yeah, actually subscribers can inflate your base and make your channel kind of do worse for your channel ultimately. So they're like, yeah, great, so unsubscribe or whatever. And understanding like where, with their Patreon and stuff, and why it's declining and things like that, and their incentive to like improve and to have an increase of support, of like kind of what the next year is going to be, is like, we want to increase our output, but we're only 2 people. So like they would just want more. If they build their group more with more editors and things, then yeah, they could potentially make more. And that's the start of any endeavor, which is nice. And it is really cool to see that they're continuing with this approach, but they just want to increase the quantity of it, which is nice. It's really encouraging and exciting. There isn't too much else I could say about it. I do like the reacting to the comments and things like that. But also, I'm surprised with the kind of the dig at Gigic. I wasn't expecting that, and he clarifies more in the comments that in the pinned comment where it's like it was just that like it was very untasteful to be making a video like this when so many people are not doing well financially. It's just kind of in poor taste, like trash. It's in trash taste, if all things. And it isn't just Gigic that made that video. To be fair, like all three of them here's the thing. He didn't. The three of them collected. I'm not trying to actually. It is. I think Mike has a very fair point about this. Of like, it's just kind of in bad taste in general. And it's like this is a YouTuber, and it's like but I still think Gigic is still kind of making his own stuff, and as well as the other guys like Joey and Connor. The thing I was going to clarify, I don't know. It's like he says he enjoys the content anyway, but of course that's the 10,000 is really just for the thumbnail. Garnt only spent 3,333, and then Joey spent the other third, and Connor spent the other. So collectively, they spent 10,000, which is still an absurd amount of money, and is only a fifth of what their Patreon gets them, and it is very exorbitant, I suppose. But neither here. I just think that it was interesting to see that further communication and connection with the rest of the community. It's and also seeing his like we were just doing our thing, I'm not trying to be aware of the whole broader community thing. It reminds me a lot of Bob Samurai's approach, where he's like, he was here like since 2009, and he's like, I would interact with channels who interact with my content, but I'm not gonna go out. It doesn't really matter either way, because he remembers it back from when it was such a tight knit community that everybody knew everybody. Although I would say that I would like to think that I would, I'm trying to encourage more of that. And that starts by interacting with other people's content first, and then they come back and everything. But it is hard to do that, and it's like, well, no, I kind of want to just make my own thing, and that's fine. This is just my own thing too. I'm not, whatever. But like, yeah, the interconnectivity of the community as a whole and stuff. The thing is that a lot of us are YouTubers, and YouTube is a kind of a every man's an island type of thing, where you're making your own video and then you just put it out there, and you're like, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna do, or whatever, and you kind of find a community through the people that watch your own videos, and not necessarily like watching other people's in the same way. Although I do think there is ultimately kind of a meta, and people know each other and things like that. But I find that interesting, because at least personal interconnectivity, I think, just leads to inspiration and leads to better content ultimately. But I still think it's like doing your own thing is admirable and cool, and no shame or whatever. It's awesome. So I mean, yeah, I'm hoping that Mike and Tyler keep doing what they're doing, and here's to another year of good content. It's happy to hear that there's a backlog as well. And this is a fun 20 minutes to chill with the boys. You know what I mean? It was neat. It's cool. And hey, speaking of Garnt, speaking of Grant, this is from his second channel, and it's just a kind of a highlights of a Twitch stream that he did. He's trying to stream a little bit more. He's trying to get his stuff, expand some different kinds of content. And this is just like a compilation of his stream of watching. He's saying I watched every anime in Winter 22, which it's just checking out all the previews and deciding whether he's going to watch something or give it an episode, give it 3 episodes, skip it, sort of thing. I think the format he made for himself is really nice. I think it gave a sense of anticipation of what is he going to give this sort of title or something. And it's like, oh, what? I'm not good. This is me coming from someone that like already decided I'm not like really interested in watching seasonal anime, kind of on principle almost. There's only very deliberate situations that are gonna want me to like, oh, I'm gonna want to be caught up on this thing because I don't want to be spoiled on this thing. In this thing particular, in this case being Attack on Titan, as well as One Piece when I get there, because I know I'm gonna be caught up on One Piece. That's assuming I finish it by the end of the year. Like I'm not, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna have to be like with the rest of you guys and kind of waiting every week. I've assigned my fate. I'm just like, well, I'm gonna watch it now. I don't want to like be too far behind and get close to the end. You know what I mean? So I think now's a good time. Anyway, it's only those times where I'm like, I know every episode is like the fucking OP and ED for Attack on Titan was just spread everywhere on my timeline before the fucking episode was available. Like it was available raw, and like they posted it on YouTube or whatever, and I'm like, let's watch it in the episode. Let's actually like anticipate it. It's like, and then also waiting for like Verve and for Crunchyroll to actually upload. They had some problems with traffic, which is fair. But like, that was discouraging. And I'm like, I mean, geez, I heard plenty of these little rumblings and stuff as the final season was coming out, and I wasn't watching it. And it's like, I don't know. I'd want to be a little more attuned to those conversations. Even though nobody talked about this episode. They talked about the OP and ED, but nobody seemed to talk about the actual episode itself. I'm like, okay, all right, fine, sure. No, but like, I just want to be there because I know it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something when the finale happens. But like, anyway, I'm just talking about Garnt's video. I'm sorry. He still watches seasonal stuff, especially because he still makes those seasonal videos and stuff. And this was the first time I'm watching a lot of these trailers myself too, and hearing about some of these anime. So that was nice to see, kind of fresh, and not just be like, he's gotten to that show. Yes, I know all about this one. I liked being blind as much as he was, without having any intention of caring what he's gonna watch or not watch. But I think he does bring a lot of good observations where he's like, this show here is original. It's what I think it's original. Because I think I checked out after the fact, and it was based on a light novel, and it was like, this is a new anime, it's a new studio, and the creatives are like have really good track records. Although there's a little misconceptions about some of that, where it's like, this guy's script for Kino's Journey and all this other stuff. I'm like, well, these are all adaptations of stuff where he didn't really like. Yeah, it's hard to really credit someone sometimes. But I just liked the kind of he's a seasoned viewer, very seasoned viewer. Although there's some of his takes and stuff about sports anime and things like that. It's a little or whatever, and calling everything an isekai, like that looks like a fantasy or whatever. Like I get that, you can have problems with that. That's But I think I talked about with this RDC world that like he has such a big platform in part because he's in tune. He has like kind of like the same wavelength as a lot of anime fans, and I do think a lot of anime fans see that, not because of him necessarily, but he's seeing that in the same way that a lot of people are seeing that. I think it's hard not to see it personally. I understand there's nuance to these things, and they're not these series are not technically isekai for this and this reason, and I think it's important to emphasize that nuance. But I think it's also important to realize that nuance is lost on a general audience very often. Like especially when like the culture these days is to seasonal anime and watching it as it comes out, and people have developed sort of a culture of stuff, and they see a lot of these fantasy and like another isekai, and we were having like an isekai boom 5 years ago. This is I remember like Konosuba and ReZero were like, whoa, isekai's taking over or whatever, and that was 5 years ago. that was more than 5 years ago. What the hell? And so it's relentless, and so of course fans like Garnt and general fans are seeing this, and we're like, this is another isekai. Like, of course you can't really blame them for that. I think it's important to be an informed viewer, but I can't knock the other people for recognizing that personally. But no, I just think he had a good energy throughout the whole stream, and his reactions were fun and things like that. It was also, it didn't feel too encumbered where like he can't obviously show the whole trailer. So the way it was cut up, it seemed pretty well, without, while dodging copyright, was able to have a good enough like commentary and a good sense of what the show was and things like that. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was a good stream. Okay, and now what I thought were the best videos of the week, the ones I thought were like, yeah, you know, it was impressive in some regard. You know, I will say I wasn't as like sparkly-eyed enthused in this. These actually, all four of these best of the week videos are kind of part of a long-running, kind of a ongoing series of videos from these particular creators. But that's fine. These are just the best ones I watched, and I liked all of them. And you know, there wasn't too much this month this week, because you know, January people realize it's not the best for like, you know, I can't make enough money or whatever reason. But this first one is a trash taste special of a cooking special of sorts. We became Japan's worst Michelin star chefs. A lot of presence of Garnt in this digest, I suppose. But you know, is pretty well made. I don't have too much else to say that hasn't already been said about their previous specials. I think the dynamic with the three of them are great. I think the approach of like narration from the three of them as the thing is happening is tasteful. I think it was cool, like having the different chefs, including Maylin, and having like the personal connection with Maylin and what she brought to the video is really fun. Kind of the developing lore with Trash Taste is kind of interesting and fun to see develop. And yeah, the dynamics are great. The actual challenges, I do think it's a little bloated with like them learning the dish, but then like when they actually start making it is when it starts getting kind of chaotic and fun. And I think my favorite part was when it was getting judged, and like, because I don't know, I just as someone who kind of grew up on reality TV and these kind of competitions and things like that with 3 judges and them giving a rating and things like that, I just find it inherently entertaining as an audience member. So I mean, that was kind of the most fun for me personally. But the whole special is fun. It's exciting. It's kind of like similar to a lot of their specials, and I think it's just cool that they're also you know, going out of their comfort zone. Like a lot of them just haven't cooked before. So of course, you know, and it's just cool to see them take on that challenge. And yeah, I don't know, it was a good time. I just really enjoyed it. Another installment from KaiserBeamz, Merry History of Looney Tunes, which is the part 3, the decline and fall of Warner Brothers cartoons. He continues to make really great content that I think is very emblematic of something like Defunctland, which is very research heavy, kind of divorced from like personal investment and opinion and things like that. Has a bit of humor in places, and irony and, you know, dramatic devices when it comes to like a documentary of sorts. And it's just really well produced and fascinating and informational, I suppose. Yeah, I continue to really like this kind of content from him, and I've generally been avoiding his reviews of things because I just don't want to, like, I don't know. It's just like I just want to, you know, I've just kind of like written a lot of it off, you know, but maybe he just likes a lot of it. It's, I don't know. I've appealed to this kind of content a lot more personally, and I'm excited for the next part of like what happens after this, and also if he finds another subject that he really wants to give a full retrospective of, a multi-part video type of thing that has a lot of detail and information about it. I find it really interesting. Yeah, and I think he's really, this is the stuff that I think he's really good at. So I'm hoping he continues in things like this. Again, it's not too different from the previous installments that I've talked about part 2 at least. But yeah, it's great. Loved it. Another similar kind of, like, you know, in a ongoing series of stuff of TheCynicClinic, Mahotsukai Tai is about being an otaku, is a video for his like monthly series of like taking a Patreon request of an anime and then talking about the thing he finds interesting about it, which I think is a great format, and I really like the kind of the bite-sized length of it, while still packing a lot of great humor, a lot of great effects, really entertaining visually, really interesting, and you don't know where the direction is going to take it in, and researched into it to whatever extent, you know. It's really the kind of stuff I'm really admiring and I would want to make myself, although realized more about my nature. I have to kind of be more kind of like, just because I see something like, oh, I want to make that, doesn't mean that I'm ultimately suited for that sort of thing. I'm realizing I just can't stop talking. That's it. Yeah. And I have to make the very long video. The videos are just getting longer and longer. You know, I guess brevity is the soul of wit, but I also don't. I just really enjoy reveling in like talking a lot about this particular subject and stuff. So yeah. As much as I really like this kind of video and stuff, I feel like it's not something I'm able to make. So at least I'm able to enjoy it on a as an audience member, you know, and not something I don't feel I have to be so emboldened to imitate or something. It's not too different from the other stuff he's making, although there was one little thing where he's like, tell me what I'm doing wrong with the with like the algorithm things. I'll tell you, it's because you're talking about Mahotsukai Tai. I'm sorry. No, no. That's just the game, you know, and the game sucks. I hate it. Don't play it. Don't bother. If you get success, then let it happen. They're like, oh, wonderful. The coins are falling out of the machine. It really is like gambling. It really, like, YouTube really is like going to a casino and constantly making videos, pulling this lever, and then it hits a 7. Okay, and you get a bunch of views. And a bunch of people with no avatars give you their shitty takes and inflate the comment section with bad comments. It's great. I love it. And number go up. It's what's not to love. I do like growth, and it's like the plaque is very enticing, dude. If they ever got rid of the fucking 100K plaque, do you know how many people would stop making videos? They just wouldn't even fucking try anymore. They'd be like, I don't even like doing this anymore. And they just fucking leave. Oh my god. Not that I would be making this for a plaque or anything. It's so depressing. Watch, like, I've seen, look, I do want a little growth and everything like that. It is nice to see and to see more. It's just because, like, you know, you think that you're making something really valuable and interesting, and you want to enrich other people's lives. And that's really why you're making it. It's like, you know, you're making it for yourself because you like making the video and it's fun as an exercise, but why else are you putting it on a public platform? You can just make the video and then just keep it to yourself, right? No, it's because you know that you take enjoyment out of this, and you like seeing the flashing images and the points being made. And so you think, well, if it's enriching my life in just by watching it, maybe it's like, hey, check out this cool video I made, you know, and that's all you want, really. You know, it's kind of it. And so that's effectively why we want growth. But that is so depressing seeing these channels of like, oh yeah, I can just get this stuff. Or like, and they find joy, and they obviously find joy out of that. But like, I saw one video, I didn't click on it, and like, it's sure, he's like, I unlisted old videos and my views went up. My views just went out through the roof or whatever. And I'm like, it's just depressing. It's just depressing, you know, like it's just like taking your videos off of the platform just so you can do better in the numbers, you know. There's something like I get that doesn't necessarily take away from being proud of the video. Or I'm sorry if this is suddenly talking about, I didn't want to just like talk about your video for a minute and then leave. I would hope that it kind of creates a broader conversation or something. That's just, I feel like that's what I'm talking, that's how I'm able to make digest now, of like kind of be able to talk off the cuff and talk about whatever. But like I don't know, I just found that really depressing. But like, you know, the channel growers, how would I start a YouTube channel in 2022, and like the meta and really getting into the game and the mechanics of the thing. It's not luck. I get that it's not luck. I get like making it like sound like a casino makes it sound like it's luck, but like it's the same effect at the end of the day, you know. It really is like, you get a bunch of gains, but you keep slaving away at it, and even when you do like you know, I don't know, I guess it's like you can be defending it. It's not the same. I see it as very similar as like a Pavlovian response. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out my ass. I don't know. Just I don't like it. No, sorry to stretch that out into the whole into making it. The video is great. At the end of the day, I really like that you make it. I really like that you make these videos and that you put it on a platform for me to see for free. You know, like seeing Smiling Friends premiered last night, and the second episode's on their website. But like, I don't want to pirate that thing because I do want to support them so that they get another season and things like that. But like, it's on cable, and then we have to wait a month until it gets on HBO Max, and then I would have to get HBO Max kind of thing. Like, you know, it's it's like it's really nice that this stuff is just like really just to watch. You know what I mean? It's really almost too good to be true. I really don't know how long this will last. I really don't know. Maybe forever, but we'll see. Anyway, sorry to make it all about that. You know, there's a way to went on a tangent, I guess. It's just the stuff I've been thinking about. Anyway, great videos. I don't want to just call you Jaden. Is it okay if I call you Jaden? I don't know. Yeah, I enjoyed the video a good deal. I did want to watch Mahou Sky Tai. It's only like 13 episodes, right? And it's like a Junichi Sato thing. I appreciate the Junichi Sato focus on like the quotes and stuff. That was great. Sky. Yeah, 13. Like nothing. Totally want to watch that. Really good. Totally want to. It's a good aesthetics too. Anyway, yeah, great. Good video. And I mean, of course, my favorite video of the week is Trixie's LOGH video. Gingae. Gingae. I'm like, oh, that's, I guess, a clever way to call it. To call it that. I mean, everyone else calls it LOGH, but yeah. Gingae. That's great. Wow. It's for Anime Alphabet, of course, which is, again, all these best of the weeks are part of like kind of a ongoing recurring thing for their respective channels. But yeah, man, I'm so happy Trixie liked it. I was like like with like the recommendation part, like right before she goes into spoilers, I'm very happy that she contained all of the spoilers in the second half of the video and went so far as to like, this is the end, like here's the outro and the go away, you really don't you know, but still like willing to talk about it in a YouTube video, because really the stuff that Trixie talks about in the second half of this video, which I won't get into detail myself, just isn't talked about on YouTube. I don't really know any, like the only videos on like LGH are reviews, which don't spoil, or analysis, which like, how many of them have talked about some of the later stuff in this series, you know? I really liked the approach. It felt very compartmentalized and selective, and obviously feels like just scratching the surface, which it's an hour video. And it doesn't even feel like an hour. Yeah, that's the highest compliment you can kind of get, for in my book at least, of just really enjoyable, consistently interesting, engaging content. I really like the addressing of community sentiment of like, I really like she's like, I call it a 10 out of 10, but it's different from like the kind of 10 out of 10s of like what you would expect. It's not like a show that I have personal connection and attachment and fondness for, but it's obviously something of such incredible depth and articulated in a really grounded and effective way. Like I really like this. It's like really can't be told in any other it works so fundamentally on a production level, as well as on a narrative one, of course. But like it's really kind of a miracle of a production type of thing, like really once in a lifetime type of show. Even when the remake is happening, and there's a lot of these things that it's missing from the original that make it less effective, even if it's telling the exact same story pretty much. I think the collection, the whole assortment of thoughts here, without like having to feel like it's exhaustive or anything, is really smart. I feel like I'm kind of taking a similar approach with my Naruto video, except I'm focusing on specific topics, but then trying to go into as much detail as I can, so I don't have to talk about it again. You know, so I'm like, I said everything about this thing, and I have 9-ish things to talk about. Yeah, so that's gonna be a long video. So look forward to it. Sorry if I'm baiting and hyping it up way too much. Probably I haven't even written it in a couple of days. It's because I'm busy with other work and things. Anyway. No, but like this was great. I also saw a really encouraging sign was that a lot of like my LGH mutuals on Twitter were like, this is a good video. This is really good. And then like, yeah. And I'm obviously not just happy because Trixie liked it a lot and gave it a very, very encouraging recommendation. Like a very, I would want to watch that section again, just that little chunk. Between the full ultimate recommendation and like the end of it, not the end of it, from the midpoint where before she goes into spoilers. I'd love to watch that section again. Like, oh yes, it's excellent. I just like her writing a lot, and that's the thing with these Trixie videos and kind of her content these days is like you're really going into it for the writing and the perspective here. Although I do think the clips, the actual like making of the video was pretty well done. It's for the most part like using a lot of relevant clips, which is, you know, kind of demanding for a show this dense and you know, this long. So it would be kind of daunting to edit for a video like this, but I think it's done pretty tactfully and efficiently, showing a lot of effective things. And yeah, like really going into all the different details and giving an analysis to certain story beats that I have never heard before, you know, and hearing these certain things with Yang and with Roy and Tal and things like that. Yeah, loved it. Oh my god, yes! Oh, of course I liked it. Like, what are you surprised about? No, I don't think anyone's surprised. I don't think a single person who's watching this is surprised remotely. Or maybe they're surprised. I don't know. Looking forward to Hibernate Renmei for H. I don't know if I'll talk about it, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, loved it. Well, that'll do it for this installment of AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.